in chat. We're recording this meeting too,
Yes.
just FYI, so that those who can't join us can watch after the fact and find out the useful information you seek from us. Maybe we could start with a quick conversation, because I know that this is common for all, is something that we've been getting is what makes an application stand out for us, for those of us who review it. And I wanted to turn it over to Anita, and then I'll also reflect, because we're both reviewing applications this year, and we have done that for many years now. So Anita, I want to ask you, what makes an application stand out for you?
Well, first of all, there's no question that somebody's voice and personality and enthusiasm is definitely, no question, that stands out. When someone really has been able to capture themselves both in writing and then in front of the screen, that they come off as a really three-dimensional person. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to see the various components, and we'll talk, I'm sure, more about this through your questions, but to see the various components of the application as all contributing to a facet, elements of your personality, elements of your professional ambition. And if you see all those different parts as contributing to one whole, that's a terrific way to approach the application, because then you really come across in a multifaceted, really vivid and textured way.
Exactly. On my end too, I 100% agree with what Anita just laid out. Getting a full sense of your story is really important, seeing all those dimensions. And I think the structure of the application really speaks to that as well. That's why we want a written and a kind of video component to get as much sense from you about who you are. Mm-hmm. And one bit that I would add to Anita's very thoughtful overview of what we're looking for would be also kind of showing us how and why you're a match to our program. So knowing specifics, of course, you will get to know the program once you're a student more, but doing that research, and I know that many of you who are now tuned in have been participating to multiple events or checking our website or watching things that we've done before. We also want to get a sense, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Anita, from you as to why communication leadership is a match for you, and the type of things from the program that speaks to you, so that we can kind of understand why you're a match for our program.
Wouldn't you agree, Heather? You also are central in terms of connecting with students around their application.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I tell them, so I hope that's true.
No, and I think to build off Ekin's excellent comments, the way in which there are so many ways to demonstrate, we're not seeking specifically only familiarity with our program, but as Ekin said, we're seeking the way in which you see yourself connecting to the program and why the program's curricular offerings, faculty hires, the kind of ethos that we try to put out very clearly in the world, our values as a program, why those resonate with you and why you see those as central to your own career development intellectually. Those are things we're looking for in terms of the way in which our program connects to you. That specificity is really prized in applications.
For sure, for sure. And with that in mind, maybe we can again turn it over to Heather quickly. Couple frequently asked questions these days. I know that you had those, we can answer them or you can share the answers, but I know that you've been getting a couple of repeat questions through your correspondence with our prospective students. So can you share some of those with us, Heather?
Yeah, a lot of the questions lately have been about our deadline and about the different materials. First, the deadline for the actual application, so what you're submitting, is 11:59 p.m. on February 3rd. So it's right before it becomes February 4th. Some people have been asking if it's due the 2nd by midnight or something. So it's February 3rd, end of the day, Seattle time. And a lot of people have also been asking about recommendations. So whether those have to be in on by the February 3rd, ideally, yes, but we do have a bit of a grace period for recommenders. So I know a lot of our students have been asking based on the Lunar New Year celebrations, and their recommenders are out of the office this week. So it's totally fine if your recommendations are a couple of days after the deadline. There is some grace for that. Also, for students submitting TOEFL scores, if you haven't ordered them yet, please order them today, because it typically takes 5 to 10 business days for those to arrive. But again, there is some grace for those as well. So if you're ordering them today, they might not get here by the deadline. That's okay. We'll, have those still come in a few days later. So as long as you submit your part of the application on time, the other recommendations and test scores can be a couple of days late, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we will not review applications if there are pending items that's beyond your control. So we want to assure those who are applying, I think that this caused some anxiety, that your application will not be discounted if there are particular items that, particularly recommendations that are pending. We understand that there are different cycles, and in particular the lunar year as well, different holidays, etc. Now we have a question on the screen. Thank you, Heather. And Liyao, I want to turn to you because you're our head of outreach. Liyao oversees a lot of our outreach programs, professional development opportunities, connections with organizations as well. The question is, I'm interested in finding out internship opportunities, career outlooks, and how this program can be a good fit for project program management.
Yes, this is a great question, and I can step into a little bit to talk about what kind of our career supports that we have that can help you to find internship. So the first thing that we have is every month that we host a First Friday event. So for students who have already participated in our previous info session or come to our First Friday event at CoMotion in January, you might already know that. So we connect our students with an organization. It could be like a tech company like Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, or it could be a nonprofit company or nonprofit organization or startups. So for example, like last October, like we host our First Friday event at We Communications. So at that event, we invite their leadership team, we invite their recruiter to join us. So the recruiter will share with us the upcoming summer internship program and also the full-time or contractor opportunities. So that is a great way for our students to get to know these internship opportunities even before these jobs are available online to public. So the second thing is each week, every Monday, like I send out the weekly jobs emails, and I will always make sure to include some internship opportunities as well as some full-time opportunities that our alumni or our faculty share with us. So in that way, you always get the first-hand internship opportunities, and we can help you connect with someone at that organization. So that's how we do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to, and Anita, you may feel free to also chime in, Heather, as well. We have a really robust network. I think that's one of the benefits of this program. We have over 600 alumni in key organizations. So we often hear about things before they are shared broadly or publicly, where employers are trying to find, through their connections, an early pool of applicants for internships. And in that way, having an alumni network in key organizations really work. We have alumni in organizations, as Liyao mentioned, in tech companies and nonprofits and communication agencies throughout the region, and they share opportunities. Now, in addition to the First Fridays, we also have a series of more specific events and on-campus career opportunities and career fairs as well. This year we have on early March our annual public professional event, Calmly Connects, where we're going to look at future work for particularly communication careers. We have a variety of different exciting speakers coming from companies like Microsoft and other tech makers, and then those who are looking at human impact of those such technologies and evolution for the professional landscape. So from project and program management to a variety of different fields in communication, we try to connect our students with opportunities.
Yeah, and I'd just quickly add on that project program management, we've got a number of classes that use real live clients. And so you're working in a group environment where there's a really strong degree of project management that comes with building products and deliverables for a client over the course of 10 weeks. And so very often teams are working in what feels like a simulation, and because it is very much a simulation for the kind of delivery that would happen in a real world contractual environment in the service of someone's learning. And then in addition to that curricular experience, we also have a really robust partner program where students are able to connect with clients who have particular communication needs. Sometimes they work independently, sometimes they work in small teams, and those are also opportunities that have a very strong internship quality to them. You are compensated as well, but there is often expectations on the students that they will be in strong communication with the client, managing the deliverable. And so that's another great example where it's not necessarily credit bearing, but it is a way to engage with clients who are part of the professional landscape of Seattle and that very much rely on the talents of CommLead students to produce work that is of high quality.
For sure. Thank you all. Now, I think we have 2 questions that are directly in Heather's alley. So I will turn it over to Heather, one from Sarah and one from Yo-Yo.
Yes, so Sarah asking about the unofficial transcripts, only pictures as opposed to physical copy. First, when you're scanning your unofficial transcripts, try to do it as a PDF and not a JPEG. Since you mentioned picture, because that JPEGs tend to be larger and you might not meet the size requirement if you do that. So strongly recommend scanning them as a PDF. But yes, we do only require unofficial transcripts. That could be a scan of an official transcript. It could be a PDF created from your university's web portal of your academic history. Whatever it is, it just needs to show the classes you've taken, grades received, and any degrees that you've earned from that school. So please do not mail anything. We cannot accept anything mailed. It will just be destroyed. So only submit via that online application, the unofficial transcripts. And then as far as preparing for the beginning of the program, if you're accepted, we actually email a long list, and we post it on Canvas, which is our course management system at UW, of recommended readings, podcasts, videos, different things for our incoming students, typically in June every year, so that you have the summer to prepare for that. That's also when we let you know what the common book is for that year's cohort, so that you have plenty of time to read that. So typically by the end of June, we'll send that out. Right now, no need to worry about that. Just worry about getting accepted first. And then once you are accepted, we will provide those kind of recommended preparations for your summer before the program. And then Yo-Yo asked about the TOEFL score. Is that a necessary part of the application? So I want to link here the English proficiency requirement that the graduate school has. So there are multiple ways to meet that requirement if you're a non-native English speaker. One of the ways is to earn a degree from a US college. And so if you have a US bachelor's degree, that meets the requirement. There's no need for any scores. But if you don't meet it through one of those ways, such as a US degree or having a degree from another certain country, and TOEFL scores are required, then you can look at that memo that I just linked that has the policy to see which one would apply to you. But yes, for Yo-Yo, if you have your US degree, that's good. You don't need to submit TOEFL scores. And also, please don't send your GRE scores. We don't require those, so we can't consider them.
Great. So one question was, and this is where the answer is yes, if we have an open house for our admitted students. And we do indeed a preview, and we will share that detail with the admitted students as they're admitted about a day where they can come. Last year we were able to, and if we can arrange it again, students were able to attend some events that we organized to get a full scope of the program, in addition to a special session where they can again ask questions about once you're admitted, about the structure of the program and particular details as a future student that you want clarified. So indeed, we'll share the date of that as you are admitted. As a part of the communication and next steps. And we'll share with you that invitation. It will be indeed in April. That's when the quarter again begins. So early part of April is when we've been doing it.
I'm happy to answer the next question.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to turn to you, Anita.
Yes, so to Mina's question about the turnover in faculty, what I will say to this is we have a strength of a program in that many of our classes are taught by working professionals, and the benefit of this is numerous. You have people that are very much on the cusp and cutting edge of their particular fields that are actually bringing that expertise into the classroom. So it's absolutely a positive. Now, the other side of the coin is that people are professionals and they get transferred to other states, or they find that they're in a particular season of work where they're needing to shift when they teach for us, and perhaps they take a year off. And so there's no question that there is variability year to year in terms of who is teaching what, but we do everything in our power to make sure that a full year's worth of classes are available to view on the website. And we also make sure that you understand when there are changes. But I will say that we don't want you to think of advising as strictly the purview of faculty, because there are also permanent faculty like Ekin, like me, that are part of the program and in the office nearly every single day. And on top of that, much like you might have experienced at the undergraduate level, advising is not simply the purview of faculty. We have tremendous staff. 2 of them are on this call, but there are others that are not on this call that work shoulder to shoulder with students, thinking about not only their curricular path through the program, but all kinds of other aspects of how they might connect to internships like Liyao has mentioned, or how they might get the most out of their time at the University of Washington writ large. So I want to assure you in the strongest possible way that the variability of faculty is nothing to worry about. Because if anything, it speaks to the responsiveness that we have as a program to developing responsive curriculum, timely curriculum, and the changeability of faculty is actually a benefit to our students and to their intellectual learning. And we compensate with any kind of variability in terms of who's teaching at any particular time with the kind of steady, significant social net you have in terms of our faculty and staff that are permanent at the university. And I will say that even some of our working practitioners, they've been teaching for us double digits of years, 17 years, 11 years. So many of our faculty members are multiple year investments in our program. And so this is in no way, shape, or form a program that has I would not call it a revolving door of faculty. I would call it a practitioner-centric faculty that now and again will take a year off and come back, but is a very stitched, very solid fabric of curricular offerings. Would you agree, Ekin?
I 100% agree. I think it's a very, very unique program in the sense that we have indeed classes taught by faculty that's dedicated to communication leadership program, whose primary job is to ensure your academic and professional and in general well-being. So indeed, we have a really robust staff and faculty that's dedicated to you and to you only. We have departmental faculty, so scholars in the field who also teach classes. We have a mix of students who have more academic orientation and professional orientation or want to explore a topic from different perspectives. So we offer classes in that way as well. But for our professional faculty, one thing that I also want to mention is if for some reason a long-term faculty member needs to take a year off, and that's usually for exciting reasons because they're so constantly getting promoted and having more responsibility and need a year to balance things off, we will not offer that class if it's an essential part of our curriculum, but instead basically hire a new faculty member to teach a class that we want to offer every year. So you will not see, due to schedule changes, a complete disappearance of an essential class in our program. Instead, we'll try to always replicate some of our core and essential course offerings, even if faculty schedules may change.
And often the new faculty we find are recommended by the ones who are having to take that step away. So there's a generational, the reputation is one where it's often handed over to someone that is a trusted colleague of the person who has taught it.
Great, thank you all. And I think the next question from Missy is one that Heather can address as well, about the resume length, ideal length of a resume.
Yeah, so we don't have a set requirement. I would say most that are submitted are 1 to 2 pages. That would be the norm. Longer than that would probably only be relevant if you are, a multi-decade industry veteran who has a lot of experience. But most students coming into our program, it would be 1 to 2 pages for the resume. And Missy has a next question that I can go ahead and address that too, about writing samples. So we don't have a writing sample as part of our application, and we do constrain it to the materials we request. So you can't submit anything extra than what we're asking for in the application, and that's part of the graduate school rules, is that what we require is what we require, and we can't consider extra materials. And so we consider your letter of intent your writing sample. So when we ask you to do that letter in 500 words or less, you know, it's a lot more difficult to write less than to write more. And so that letter of intent does serve as a writing sample as part of your application. You're welcome to include a link to an online portfolio on your resume. We can't guarantee that that will even be looked at because that's not part of our required materials. So we're really wanting to see what we ask for in the application.
And so there's another question, and I'll touch upon, but I think this is another question that we can all reflect on. I'm a technical writer in Facebook looking to enhance my skills and gain confidence around communications. What are the modules you offer? And since I've been in technical writing for over 7 years, do I still need to submit a TOEFL score? I have a certification from Bellevue College. I'll take the talk about the modules and skills a little bit about our program, and then I'll turn it over to Anita and Heather and Liyao to chime in on different opportunities that we might speak about, plus also the requirements. So in terms of our program, we offer really comprehensive curriculum, and in just a minute, I'm going to offer a link to our program overview where you can see kind of the curricular areas that we offer classes in. If you had a specific job experience in a field related to communication, one of the strengths of our program is the option to either focus in one of our curricular areas or to take classes across a variety of different fields related to communication. So if you're trying to kind of gain knowledge about a variety of fields related to not just communication, but also leadership, we actually offer a really robust and interesting curriculum that not only, again, offers insight to key professional skills in some of the more sought after areas like UX design or research or content strategy, or professional communication or other related marketing communications, etc. So there are indeed classes in that, but we also offer a variety of different courses that actually what we call core competencies, and we really highlight in our also declaration of the program as well, that ensures that you have a scope of the professional vision and leadership skills necessary to advance in any field. So I would say that's definitely a strength of the program. Our curricular areas are broad, that offers options depending on your experience, right? You might be someone who's trying to identify your next career steps, and you want to initially take a few classes to see which field it belongs to. You can do that. You might be someone who wants to hone in on some leadership skills and think about curriculum about that. That's also a possibility. You might find your passion during that journey and dedicate the latter part of your experience here or from the get-go on a particular curricular field. That is also a possible option in our program. But I'll turn it over to my colleague Anita as well, who can quickly speak maybe about these options. Anita, I think you're on pause, on mute.
Sorry, we can't see that question. Heather has made a request that people send it to everybody, not simply to the host. So I apologize. I'm not able to refer to that. Is there a way you can share that, Ekin?
I can.
Or could you just read it again, please? Sorry, as you were talking, I was scrolling looking for it, so I didn't.
Let me just could you scroll up? Yeah, no, we can.
So basically, so he has been working for Facebook as a technical writer, and yeah, and for 7 years.
Yeah.
So the question was about modules of learning that we would be able to offer someone with a professional experience like that in our program. That was the first part of the question. The second part of the question is, if despite the experience of doing this for 7 years, if this candidate would need to submit TOEFL scores, for which I will turn over to Heather and ask her if she can speak about that.
Thanks, Ekin.
Yeah, so I would refer to the link above. If you're a non-native English speaker, that link that I put to Memo 8, the Graduate School's English Language Diversity requirement, shows all of the ways that you can meet that requirement. So if in the application you said, no, I'm not a native English speaker, you have to meet that requirement through one of those methods outlined there. So it could be a US bachelor's degree or a bachelor's degree from one of the countries mentioned in that memo. Or if you have documentation from your undergraduate institution that's not from one of those countries, that all instruction was in English, that's a way to meet the requirements. But if none of those apply, then TOEFL scores are required. There's no method to meet the English proficiency requirement through any type of work experience. The graduate school doesn't recognize that. So those methods outlined there, those are all of the ways and the only ways to meet the grad school's requirement.
Great. And let us know if we can clarify again in just a minute. One of us will post the program overview page for your review as well, where you can see the particular curriculum modules that we offer. And we offer a robust curriculum in all of those different 8 areas, curricular areas. And that will give you a sense of the types of classes. And also we'll put a link to the classes section of our program where you can see this year's course catalog and see the class that's been offered. Taking classes that are open to all of our enrolled students. So you can kind of, again, craft your own experience, or we offer advising also to build intentionality if you choose to do so. So the next one I'm going to turn it over to, go ahead, Anita.
Were you about to turn it over to me?
Yes, exactly. Our question is like a perfect one, I thought, for you.
I'm happy to answer Missy's, is that where we are, about the writing samples, and I'm going to combine it with an answer for, is that what you're looking at?
We already covered the writing sample one. We are
Audrey's question.
Audrey's question.
Yeah.
Okay, Audrey's. Okay, looking for in the personal statement versus the video. And so I would say that when it comes to the way that you think about, as Heather said, the writing, your personal statement is an opportunity for you to put forward a writing sample. And if you do want to think of the video as more conversational, that's terrific, because it is intended to be you having an opportunity in an unedited 90 seconds to answer the prompt. In the case of both of these aspects of the application, we have given through the actual application 2 very specific prompts that you need to consider and then craft answers to in the way that you, in the way that feels authentic, in the way that feels like it's a strong reflection of who you are. And so if it's helpful for you to imagine that the writing sample has a more, we tend to write in a way that is very different from the way that we speak. And so, for instance, in the way that you would craft a writing sample that would perhaps, as you say, have a more formal flair, the video gives you an opportunity to imagine that you're across the table from anyone watching the video, having a conversation. So in the idiomatic way that you speak, that's a way that it could contrast. But I would say that when you think about both of them, what is a common denominator is we are looking for clarity of thought. And to me, that's not the distinction that's formal or informal. That has to do with how grounded, how thoughtful, how mindful you are in your answer, regardless of whether it's in writing or whether it's something that you're actually speaking into your cell phone or your laptop. And so to the extent that you can keep that in mind as your true north around specificity, clarity, real authenticity when it comes to who you are, I think that's a really good path to take. And keeping in mind that the 2 of them are meant to be complementary, as your whole application, as we said earlier, is meant to fit together like a puzzle, so that you don't want to echo your personal statement by just speaking it into the camera for your essay for your video. You want the 2 of them to act as parts of a whole.
Exactly. Yeah, I would just echo that too. Think about, I think Anita put it really nicely in the beginning of our conversation about having different dimensions. So these are different dimensions. And more often than not in years, we've seen that successful applicants give us the different perspectives through using these 2 different tools, as opposed to repeating what you wrote in a video form. Seeing them as 2 different lenses or an opportunity to give us different information about who you are whilst answering the prompt is a key aspect of this challenge. Let's go with that. Now we have a few more questions coming up, one from Julia, and I'm going to bring everyone to this. Is it altogether insane for me to think I can keep working full-time and do the MCDM program full-time? What do full-time working students generally do? They cry. No, I'm joking. We have students who have done that, but and again, I'll turn it over to all of us. I'll start very quickly. I'd say it's a possibility. Having said that, unless you have a rush and a deadline that you have to finish the program by, we recommend our full-time working students to take not 2, which is the full-time load, but a class a quarter. And a lot of our full-time working students also rethink their structure of their year based on their own calendar. They take classes in the summer, so they have a full year, and so they're not so delayed. And I wouldn't even think about it as a delay, but being enrolled in the program and the duration that you're enrolled, there's no disadvantage in finishing in 18 months versus in 36 months. There's no structural change. So unless you have a rush to finish very quickly, we encourage our full-time working students to be mindful of their wellness and well-being. But Anita, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think, though, it is fair to say that because we as a curriculum have offerings that are 5 credits, 2 credits, and 3 credits, one thing you might consider as you're looking towards the curricular path you take is to, as Ekin says, you might start with 1 class, see what that feels like. Don't be fooled by the, oh, they only meet for once a week, I can do this, because recognize that the rigor of a graduate school class is significant. And so even though the class may only meet 10 times or maybe 5 times if it's an every other week weekend class, these are classes that have that large expectations for outside of class work. It is simply not limited. It is not limited simply to the time you are in class. There's a significant amount of lifting that happens outside of the classroom. So it might behoove you to ease in, see what it feels like to be a full-time working professional taking 1 class, and then you can adjust. And as Ekin said, maybe there's a quarter that you will choose to take 2. It's maybe a seasonal downshift for you in work, and so it makes sense for you to be able to upgrade the number of classes you're taking. Maybe you try out doing a 2 credit class with a 5 credit class, and you work your way through. Because really, we try to be as flexible as we possibly can for all. But as Ekin said, unless you have there's a necessity for a certain expediency in your time, there's a lot of advantages to just doing a class a quarter and even potentially taking summers off, because the curriculum's always changing and shifting, and you're really going to get a good lay of the land. So that's certainly, I think, our 2 cents on that.
Yeah, and I would only add that, and Anita brought this up, you're not committing to be a full-time student or a part-time student when you enter the program. There's no designation. That's up to you every single quarter. So it's not something you need to decide in the beginning. I usually do recommend that the first quarter, people working full-time just take 1 class and see how it feels. But you can go back and forth every quarter. You can take a quarter off. You can go full-time 1, part-time another. You're not tied to any particular status as far as part-time or full-time. So you have that flexibility to see what's going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you, if you poll students who took 2 classes and worked full-time their first quarter, if they would have done it differently again, I think that the overwhelming response would be yes.
Mm-hmm. So we have a couple kind of quick technical questions that we can touch upon. So Yo-Yo's question about requiring internship experience prior to the application. You don't have to have a defined professional experience to apply for the program. We have a variety of, I think that speaks to the depth of our curriculum. We offer classes and opportunities for those who are just starting their careers. And then we also offer opportunities, conversations and classes for those who are more advanced in their career as well. So it's totally okay. You do not have to have a particular internship experience in a related field when you are applying to the program. If you have it, great. If you don't, that's totally fine as well. That will not cause any problems on our end, or it's not a requirement of our program. The next one, Heather, I'll turn over to you. Carolyn asked if she ends up with 4 letters of recommendation as opposed to 3, because of course, that's a part that many of our applicants can't control when they're submitted, or the intentions of those who are submitting for them. So would that cause a problem?
No, not at all. I think the system maxes out at 6, and I wouldn't recommend submitting 6 because our poor admissions readers would just have more to read. But not a problem at all. We require 3. That's actually very smart if you're not sure that one person's going to submit, to add an extra recommender, and it's totally fine if you end up with 4. We'll still look at those. So actually, I would recommend that for other people. If you have someone who hasn't been responsive, maybe they agreed to write your letter a month ago and you still haven't heard from them, it might be a good idea to designate a 4th person just in case.
Great. Next up is Sarah's question about the video question. Again, I will take a quick stab at it, but so the question is, if we are looking, my understanding of the video question is that you are looking for reasons in our lives leading us to applying for this program. Is my interpretation correct? Yes, it is. But again, stressing it quickly for the purposes of getting to all your questions, it's 90 seconds. So as Anita already discussed about being kind of organized and being strategic about what you pick and what you highlight in that question is vital. You will not be able to give us all the reasons, right? As to what in your lives, you all had, I'm sure, very rich lives leading to this program, but picking strategically and using this tool to give us a sense of who you are, that you really think that strongly speaks to your connection to this program. But I'll turn it over to my colleagues to see what they think.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Ekin. I think that summarizes it really well. And as I going back to the discussion we were having about formality, informality, seeing it, formality, informality doesn't mean that there hasn't been prep. And so I think one of the things that as readers we're looking for in all aspects of the application, but certainly in the video as well, is that there has been a care and a thought process to the way that you are using those 90 seconds, and that the story, like Ekin said, 90 seconds is not very long. And so it's an opportunity for you to perhaps highlight 1 or 2, the story of who you are that has led you to this decision, but to do it in a way where it's clear that this is a thought process that you have unspooled, that you have thought about, that you have prepared in the way that you want to share for us. Not talking about Oscar-winning performances where you have to put forward a monologue that is worthy of Shakespeare. You're not graded on that at all, but it's really a chance though to see what kind of care and investment have you put into the thought process that then graduates to the actual recording.
Great. And I'll turn Kevin's question over to Heather. There are a lot of technical aspects there that I know Heather's our resident expert. So Heather, good luck.
Yes, so Kevin, hi Kevin, I know we've emailed a bit. So as far as the admissions GPA, and this is a good question for everyone to know. So the graduate school's admissions GPA requirement is they're looking at your most recent 90 quarter credits or 60 semester credits. And that's across all different institutions. So community college, if you went to that after undergrad, if you started a grad program somewhere else, whatever it is, you start with your most recent college grades of any type, and then go back until you hit 90 quarter or 60 semester credits. And that's the admissions GPA and how they calculate that. In terms of the undergrad working career, so if we're applying for both degrees, please do not submit an application for both degrees. It's just wasting your money. Since we consider all of the applicants as one pool, it would be basically a duplicate application because we're looking at all of the applications together. So choose which one you want to apply to. You can certainly mention in your letter that you're interested in pursuing both. That's good to know. But when you're initially applying to the program, you can only be admitted to one degree, and so please only submit one application. We just don't want you paying double fees for no reason.
Exactly, and you will have the option to share that intention, and there are ways of applying for that once in the program. But if you're, again, as Heather mentioned, if you're thinking of exploring both once in, you can do that once you're in. So you don't have to, again, there's no, it will not do anything to your application to apply twice, as Heather mentioned too, besides the loss of some funds. Another, a little bit more technical question, again for you, Heather, from Yang, about kind of transitioning to our program from another one.
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with the exact question on the application that you're asking about, but in general, when the application is asking, will you have completed a degree before beginning our program, whether it's a degree in the US or whether you've completed a bachelor's degree, that's asking whether you'll have that by the time you start at ComLead. So as long as you're graduating by August of this year, then the answer to that would be yes, that you would have that degree. We kind of go by honor system. We assume you're going to graduate. And then once you have graduated with that degree, the graduate school would ask you to send an official transcript to verify that you have that degree at that point. So during your first quarter in the program, if you're admitted, they would need that just to verify that you had earned the degree that you said you would in the application. But yes, if you're currently working on that MBA and you'll finish before you start this program, then say yes, you would have a degree in the US.
So, and I just want to clarify, I think this is applicable to a lot of our applicants too. So for the English language requirement, if it's someone completing an MBA in the US, would that fulfill the language requirement? Might be also another way of putting this question.
Yes, so it's any bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree from the US institution meets that requirement.
Perfect. Now, another technical question, but it's great. This is the time of the year to do so, because you are, of course, all of you considering really strongly and seriously our program. Leah asked about health insurance, full-time students and who are over 26 and who are going to enroll full-time, who might then opt out of an employer's insurance plan. What are options for them?
Yeah, so I just put a link in the chat box there to a webpage that UW has on their well-being website, which has information about insurance. So UW does not provide student insurance for domestic students. But they do have these resources linked there on which services students can take advantage of on campus, like through Hall Health or the different counseling center and different options for students. And then also information on that website on how to access affordable health insurance through generally the Washington State Marketplace or different options for students.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to answer Missy's next question about reapplications. I'll give it a stab.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. That sounds great.
So Missy, yes, students who are unsuccessful with an application can reapply the following year, and that is, there have been not many, but there have certainly been some students who, based on subsequent work experience or ability to craft a more persuasive and better fit, I would say, application to our program, have done that. So the language that you're responding to is true. Denials are final for that round. So it's not as if you can apply to the priority round and then reapply in the April round. You would have to reapply for the next academic year. So I believe that's the way that it unfolds. But there's nothing at all preventing an applicant from not reapplying a second cycle in the next academic year.
Exactly. Yeah, and just to add some clarity on that statement came from people who were denied and then tried to appeal that decision for that same year, saying, no, please reconsider, I'm going to send more materials. That's not possible for the same year, but you can absolutely apply again for a future year.
Exactly. And for some of our, I just wanted to quickly mention and again, please send us all your questions. And Heather, I want to turn it over to you too about the GNM possibility. So we have a number of students who apply to be non-matriculating students in our program, and we had students who, prior to applying, enrolling through that option that allowed them to take a class if space was available in the program without fully being enrolled, which is also a good data point for us as we're reconsidering or considering an applicant, because it gives us a sense of the student's ability in a surrounding environment that's of our own.
Yeah, so we do have this option, and it's a really clunky name. It's the graduate school's name for it, graduate non-matriculated, which we shortened to GNM. And basically it just means a non-degree seeking student. And so this is an option you can apply for Often it's people that say discover our program in the summer, so they're past our application deadlines for that year and don't want to wait another full year to take a class or see if it's a good fit. And so they'll apply as a G&M student for fall or winter to take a class or two. And it's also students that are doing a degree at another school and want to just take a class or two to transfer back to that program because they're really excited about our electives that we offer. G&M enrollment is space available.
Exactly.
And so we ask in that application to list your first, second, third choice of class because odds are, your first choice might be full by the time you're allowed to register. And so we need those other options because it is just based on which classes still have space 2 weeks before the quarter begins. But yeah, so it's an option for people who aren't sure yet, they want to commit to the full degree and want to test it out. Or say if you are denied this year and are really passionate about the program and think it's a good fit, maybe you apply as a G&M to take a class and get a better sense of the program, also show us that you can succeed in our classes, and then maybe be able to articulate better in your letter of intent the following year and have that experience in the program to maybe be successful the second time.
Exactly. Now, Valeska has a question about if accepted, if the email will be received on March 31st or if it could arrive earlier. It could arrive. So you will receive the letter by March 31st, but we are going to, we are starting reviewing applications. We'll do our best to actually give responses before that date, but the latest you would hear from us would be March 31st. We want to make sure that you have enough time to consider the program, different aspects of it once admitted in the program as well. So we are hoping to get you answers as quickly as possible, but in the later cycle, later part of March, March 31st, again, being the latest date you would hear from us. Am I correct in my assumption, Heather?
Yes, so that's our absolutely by then, but likely, maybe a week or two before then is what we're shooting for.
Exactly. So as we're, and again, keep your questions coming our way. We're here for another 11 minutes. And again, this is not be it and all. We are all available by way of email and by way of, again, you can schedule if you're local for a time to come and see us. So all of those are possible. We have a question from Roxanne. Do you know of any MCDM students who also pursued UW Storytelling and Content Strategy certificate, either before or after the program? I know of a number of students who have done it before the program. There's, of course, possibility of completing it after the program as well. My only, if you haven't completed it yet, a number of our classes overlap with the content in the certificate program. So a lot of our students who, as you're enrolled, and if you haven't and have been enrolled in it yet, you will have options for classes in content strategy and storytelling within the program. It's an added cost and a different program than ours. But of course, completing it gives us a data point about your interest in the subject matter. So that's definitely something good to entertain, or if you've already done it, please mention that as well. Feel free to mention that, and I'm sure you will in your resume and other application materials.
Yeah, and I want to comment on that just to clarify, because this question has come up several times in emails. So the Storytelling and Content Strategy Certificate is a non-credit certificate. So you're not earning any graduate credits through that. So that can't apply towards your degree in ComLead. But like Ekin said, it's a good data point just to know that you've studied some of that material. But that's not, there's no overlap in terms of any credits for the program itself for that.
Segue, Heather, so that's a great segue into the next one.
Yes, and so speaking of credits counting, so yes, if you take classes as a G&M student, you can take up to 10 credits, so up to 2 classes as a G&M student. And then if you're accepted into our program later, then those credits would apply towards your electives. So basically it's a 45 credit degree. If you took 10 credits as a G&M and then you're accepted into the program, you'd only have 35 credits remaining to complete. You also, when you earn G&M credits, you're earning graduate credit, So you can apply those to another program as well. You know, if you go to another master's degree, either at UW or a different school, depending on their, you know, credit transfer policies, you could apply those credits there as well. So not just in ComLead.
Swati has a question, Anita, that I think you might be able to. So is the editing certification also a module in the MCDM course?
I believe the answer to this is no. I would want backup from Heather, but many of the certificates that are offered through Continuum College, otherwise also known as professional continuing education, like Heather explained, are not credit bearing, and that's not a title for a certificate course that rings a bell to me. Is that right, Heather?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that certificate, but basically any certificates through PCE, they're not going to be able to apply to a graduate degree because they are non-credit certificates.
Right.
And I would want to clarify also what type of editing, if it's video editing, we have an on the ground video tutor that helps our students navigate a variety of skills. And we have a variety of also free workshops for skill building opportunities, in addition to classes in video storytelling, which have editing components as well. So if the editing is intending video and audio, we have a variety of different opportunities for development of skills and application of that skill in a course context. So if you share with us more context, we can provide more insights and point you to the type of classes or opportunities we have in our program. And this, before we turn it over to the next question, very quickly, we have, Liyao, right, a number of opportunities and workshops offered by our alumni and offered by our network. I know that a couple are coming up. Can you mention a couple coming up that will be available for our current students now and for you in the future?
Yes, so we do, as Ekin mentioned, we do have a number of workshops provided by our alumni, so the upcoming one is about like how international students could find the job. So that's like a really helpful one, job searching for international students. And we also have our alumni from Microsoft that will talk about the content strategy workshop. So if you want to be a UX design content strategist, then that would be a perfect workshop for our students. And I think we also have our current students assistant to provide some workshops on video editing, like several like this. So that will be helpful as well. And beyond of that, in our departments, we also offer some similar workshops that you can attend. So it's a lot of like possibilities, a lot of options for our current students and also alumni.
And all of these are free of charge, of course, to our students. These opportunities, any added workshop that we offer through our alumni, through our tutors, and through the departmental ones are available to all our students. Now, very quickly, another question is about the partner program. And if the proceeds or the scholarship for it go towards tuition, or does it include a living stipend and how it's distributed? So I'll turn it over to my colleagues, Heather and Anita, to speak a little bit about the partner program as well.
Yeah, so the partner program, and Liyao can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's $1,500 or $1,800. I can't remember what the current rate is.
From 1,500 to 2,000, depends on
2,000, depending on the scope of the engagement.
So it is just a small scholarship. So again, maximum $2,000. So that is enough to cover a couple of credits in the program, but that wouldn't cover, say, a full 5-credit class. And so in terms of like tuition versus living stipend, it's just a small scholarship. So it wouldn't cover all of your tuition. But it's meant to help towards your tuition for that quarter, or if you choose to take credits for it, it's generally enough to cover the 2 or 3 credits that you might take to get credit for your partner program project. So it's just a flat amount, and it's distributed to you, and then it either applies toward any tuition if you owe any on your account at that point, or if you don't, then it's just dispersed to you to use as you will.
Exactly. So yeah, and the partner program again is a way to enhance, but on-campus and opportunities, employment is available to our students, including international students. Correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, from the start of their journey at our program for on-campus employment is an option. And then again, a lot of our students are hired in for a variety of different opportunities. Partner program is one type of engagement on campus, but there are other types of engagement available to our students as well, where they apply for in the department or beyond the department in different parts of the campus for hourly work, where they earn basically based on their labor. So a number of our students are also engaged in that way professionally on campus. With that, we have 3 minutes left. So final maybe wisdom, if you have any other questions, please share it with us. I know that we're going to share in this link again our program overview, and then also following up with that is our how to apply page as well. I think we'll add that as well for your consideration. And it will also add our emails too, if need be, and you can reach out to us for follow-up questions. A lot of our resources are already there, so make sure that you go through them as you're applying. Our website is really robust in offering a lot of resources to prospective students, and also giving you glimpses into different opportunities of what goes on in the program as well. And Heather already shared all those pages with you. And yes, so feel free to get in touch with us and let us know if you have any questions. Final words of wisdom from everyone. Mine is good luck. We're very excited that you're considering us as a program, and we are a really robust and exciting program. So I'm excited to be a part of it. As one of the co-directors, have been around. It will be our 20th year next year, so you'll be part of cohort 20. So 20th cycle of students coming into our program. So that's a really exciting momentum for all of you to join in at that moment in time where we've evolved and have been around. So good luck to you all.
Yeah, and I would just say, while I know that it can feel very much like the stakes are high and there's a level of anxiety, really try to enjoy the application process. This is an opportunity for self-reflection. And so to the extent that you can see it not as onerous or as I say, anxiety inducing, but still enjoy the process. This is an opportunity for you to reflect.
Yes, and I would just add, selfishly, if you do have questions, please don't wait until 4 p.m. on Monday. The February 3rd to send them. So I'm happy. I will try to answer emails that come in as quickly as possible. Obviously, that will be easier this week rather than on the deadline day, if you can do that.
Of course. And we always have current students volunteer who are ready to talk to you. So if you want to talk with a real student in our program, either in the digital media program or community network, they're always ready for you.
Exactly. Thanks to Liyao, we have a really robust student ambassador program, and they're ready for you. And you're right, Swatia, 2020 is the year where we'll have our 20th cohort. So that is indeed a really exciting momentum. Thank you for joining us. And we look forward to seeing your applications next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I think there's something wrong with my mic.